deep impacts. 1. Economic growth and development. Global trade has contributed to significant economic growth, especially in developing countries that have embraced export-oriented economic strategies. Global trade has been a major driver of economic growth and development, particularly in developing countries adopting export-oriented strategies. By engaging in international trade, these countries have accessed larger markets for their goods and services, leading to increased sales and revenue. This expansion into global markets can stimulate domestic industries, encourage investment, and foster innovation. The benefits of participating in global trade include the creation of jobs, the development of new skills and technologies, and the generation of foreign exchange earnings. For many developing countries, exports are a crucial source of income, enabling them to import goods and services necessary for development and growth. Moreover, exposure to international markets and competition encourages firms to improve efficiency and productivity. It also drives the diversification of economies, reducing dependence on a narrow range of products or services. However, it's important to note that the benefits of global trade are not evenly distributed, and there can be challenges, including vulnerability to global market fluctuations and competition pressures on local industries. Therefore, complementary policies, such as investing in education, infrastructure, and technological capabilities, are vital to ensure that countries can fully capitalize on the opportunities presented by global trade. Additionally, there's a growing focus on making global trade more sustainable and inclusive to address these disparities. 2. Consumer benefits. Consumers have benefited from a wider variety of goods and services at lower prices due to increased competition and efficiency in production. The globalization of trade has brought significant benefits to consumers worldwide, primarily through an expanded variety of goods and services and more competitive pricing. Key points include diverse products. Global trade allows consumers access to a broader range of products from different countries. This variety is not just limited to physical goods, but also includes services like tourism and digital services. Lower prices increase competition among global and local producers tends to drive down prices, making products more affordable for consumers. This is particularly evident in sectors where imports provide a cheaper alternative to domestically produced goods. Improved quality and innovation. International competition encourages producers to improve quality and innovate to maintain or increase their market share. Consumers benefit from these advancements, which often lead to better and more advanced products. Access to global trends and cultures. Trade facilitates the exchange of cultural products like literature, movies, music, and food, enriching the cultural experience of consumers. Economic efficiency. Global trade encourages countries to specialize in industries where they have a comparative advantage, leading to more efficient production processes. This efficiency can translate into lower consumer prices. However, it's important to consider that while consumers benefit from lower prices and more choices, these benefits need to be balanced with the interests of domestic producers and the broader impacts on the local economy and employment. Additionally, there is increasing consumer awareness and demand for products that are not only economically beneficial, but also socially and environmentally responsible. 3. Job creation and loss. While globalization has created jobs in some sectors and regions, it has also led to job losses in others, particularly in industries facing intense international competition. Globalization's impact on job creation and loss is multifaceted and varies by sector and region. While it has generated new job opportunities in some areas, it has also contributed to job losses in others. Job creation. Globalization often leads to job creation in emerging industries and those with a comparative advantage. For example, developing countries with lower labor costs may see growth in manufacturing and export-oriented industries. Similarly, sectors like technology, logistics, and services that support international trade can experience job growth. job loss. On the flip side, industries that face stiff international competition can suffer job losses. Developed countries, in particular, may see declines in manufacturing jobs as production moves to countries with lower costs. Additionally, automation and technological advancements, often accelerated by global competition, can lead to reduced labor demand in certain sectors. Shift in job nature. Globalization can also change the nature of jobs available. There may be a shift from manufacturing to service sector. Jobs in some economies. These new jobs often require different skills, necessitating workforce retraining and upskilling. Wage effects. Globalization can exert downward pressure on wages in competitive industries, especially in unskilled or semi-skilled job categories. However, it can also lead to higher wages in sectors where a country has a strong competitive, for example, regional disparities. The impact of globalization on employment can be uneven, benefiting certain regions within a country while disadvantaging others. This disparity can lead to economic and social challenges. Overall, while globalization contributes to overall economic growth, its benefits and drawbacks are unevenly distributed. Policies focusing on education, skill development, and support for transitioning industries are crucial to mitigate the negative impacts and ensure a more equitable distribution of globalization's benefits. 4. Income inequality. There is a concern that globalization has contributed to increased income inequality, both within and between countries, as benefits are not always evenly distributed. Globalization's role in income inequality is a significant concern, as its economic benefits are often unevenly distributed, both within and between countries. Within countries, globalization can exacerbate income disparities within countries. Higher skilled workers, often in urban areas, might benefit more due to their involvement in globalized sectors, while lower skilled workers might not experience the same level of benefit, leading to widening income gaps between countries. While many developing countries have experienced rapid economic growth due to globalization, others have not kept pace. This discrepancy can widen the economic divide between nations. Global labor market. The integration of a global labor market can lead to a race to the bottom in terms of wages and labor conditions, particularly in industries that are labor intensive and easily outsourced. Capital this. Labor globalization often favors capital over labor, especially in capital-intensive industries. Capital owners and investors may reap disproportionate benefits compared to workers, contributing to inequality. Technological advancements. Globalization accelerates technological change, which can disproportionately benefit those with the skills to exploit these new technologies, leaving others behind. Policy and institutional factors. The impact of globalization on income inequality is also influenced by domestic policies and institutions. Educational access, labor market regulations, tax policies, and social safety nets play significant roles in determining how the benefits of globalization are distributed. Addressing these concerns requires a combination of international cooperation and domestic policy measures aimed at supporting disadvantaged sectors and regions, improving education and skill training, and strengthening social safety nets to protect those most vulnerable to the disruptions caused by globalization. 5. Cultural exchange. Increased trade has facilitated a greater exchange of cultural ideas and practices, leading to more culturally diverse societies. Increased global trade has significantly contributed to cultural exchange, enriching societies by broadening their exposure to diverse ideas, practices, and ways of life. This cross-cultural interaction, facilitated by the flow of goods, services, people, and information across borders, has several key dimensions. Diversity of products. The availability of products from different parts of the world introduces consumers to new cultural experiences. This includes food, clothing, art, and entertainment, fostering a deeper appreciation and understanding of other cultures. Media and entertainment. The global spread of films, music, books, and digital content allows for the sharing of cultural narratives, art forms, and values often leading to popular cultural phenomena that transcend national boundaries. Migration and tourism, the movement of people, whether for work, education, or travel, plays a significant role in cultural exchange. Migrants bring their customs and traditions to new countries, while tourists gain exposure to different cultures and bring those experiences back home. Cultural blending, these interactions often lead to the blending and fusion of cultures, evident in areas like cuisine, fashion, and language, creating new, hybrid cultural forms. Communication technologies, advancements in technology, especially the internet and social media, have accelerated cultural exchange by allowing instant communication and sharing of cultural content globally. Educational exchange, educational and academic collaborations and student exchanges are another avenue for cultural exchange, broadening the perspectives of participants. Deep
The world is becoming more and more interconnected. Never before in human history has there existed such an intense relationship between international trade, communication, and politics. The term globalization is all around us, sometimes as an opportunity, sometimes as a new challenge. But what exactly does globalization mean? And what are its ramifications? Even though the term globalization is frequently used, it is not easy to define. One thing is clear. In today's world, economic, environmental, social, and political issues and problems are no longer limited to the national level because the world has become so interdependent. Reasonable governance can only be realized within broader groups of stakeholders. For example, state confederations such as the European Union, regional economic organizations like the OECD, or the whole world. Today, modern communication technology and mass media like radio, TV, phones, or internet are a global standard. This means that information can be distributed worldwide in real time at affordable prices. For instance, the average price of a telephone call from New York to London has decreased by 99% since 1930. International TV broadcasters deliver information, opinions, and cultural products to the most remote areas. The cost for transportation of products and persons dropped by 65% since 1930, due to low fuel prices and the development of new means of transportation, in particular container shipping. Air freight costs have dropped even more, 88%. The freight charges for a ton of coffee delivered from Asia to Europe only accounts for 1% of its price. Such developments are the result of technological advancements, but there are some aspects which were introduced purposefully as well. Since the 1980s, the richer, more industrialized countries worked toward removing trade barriers, such as tariffs, import quotas, and bans worldwide. Thus, new technologies, decreasing transportation costs, and the liberalization of international trade has made it possible and profitable for major companies to produce and sell worldwide. Let's take a glance at the three main areas of globalization. The economic sphere is of particular importance. It is a major catalyst for globalization and is at the same time the most affected area. International exports have increased 30-fold in the last 60 years. The foreign direct investment of companies and governments has increased substantially. It's risen from $13 billion per year in 1970 to more than $1.8 trillion today. Many companies are searching for new markets and opportunities for cheap production in countries with low wages and soft environmental regulations. The number of such multinational corporations rose from 7,000 to 65,000 since the 1990s. Similar to the world economy, international politics is also more interdependent today. Most important policy issues like climate change, the financial crisis, or terrorism do not care about borders. Such problems cannot be solved by a single state alone. Politics tries to react by attempting to make decisions in broader groups of countries, like the EU, the G20, or even the United Nations. At the same time, there are more and more international pressure groups which do not belong to a particular state. These so-called non-governmental organizations, or NGOs, are able to exert influence in politics related to their field of work. Examples include Greenpeace, Amnesty International, or ATTAC. A global public forum evolves through the previously mentioned new possibilities of communication. NGOs use this in order to influence politics. International political problems and the emergence of new global actors like NGOs and multinational corporations lead to a decrease of the political latitude of single states, especially of small states. The influence of globalization can be observed in our culture as well. One aspect is often referred to as McWorld. The term describes how Western culture, especially popular culture, becomes dominant and destroys cultural diversity. The global distribution of Western music, news, products, and even the English language promotes this effect. To counter globalization, we can also see backlash. For example, people are increasingly returning to local and regional cultural customs. Globalization is a very complex development. Some countries benefit more, others benefit less. Newly industrialized countries like Taiwan and South Korea, as well as the rapidly developing India, Brazil, and China, gain considerable advantage from their integration into the world economy. They can build up their factories with foreign direct investment and infrastructure and sell their products internationally. Due to the low wages in these countries, these products are very competitive on the world market. China represents a perfect example of how the broader population can benefit too. Its fast economic growth has enabled 500 million Chinese to leave extreme poverty. On the other hand, there are whole regions who are suffering more than they are benefiting from globalization. This is particularly true for most sub-Saharan African countries. Such countries are not prepared sufficiently for tightened international competition. The cheap products produced by industrial and newly industrialized countries flood the local markets and destroy local productive facilities. Moreover, these countries are not attractive for foreign investors. Thus, they cannot walk the same road as the newly industrialized countries. Globalization is both a threat and an opportunity for industrialized countries. On the one hand, they can acquire new markets for their industrial goods. On the other hand, they are facing the competition of newly industrialized countries that can produce at lower costs. Specifically, the production of simple goods is no longer profitable. Very few products, like textiles, toys, or white goods, are still produced in industrialized countries. It becomes clear that globalization takes place at many areas, such as politics, culture, and the economy. Declining costs of transport and communication, and the global liberalization of markets have fueled this trend. While some countries benefit from globalization, it has exacerbated the problems of others. Thus, globalization presents both new opportunities and new challenges.